That part.
And this next topic I do want to talk about, because it's pretty interesting to me. Is unconditional love a real expectation for men, or is that like a romantic illusion? And I'll set this right. Recently we went to a Black men's brunch, right? It was hosted by 500 men making a difference, and the mayor Eric Adams, and the amount of people that we seen that watched our show, Black men that we seen that watched our show, and we're just like, you know what? I appreciate what y'all doing because I feel like there's a platform for me to be heard. Like, you know what I mean? And we don't never disrespect our guests, but, you know, we are able to articulate ourselves well in a way where Black men can be like, damn, you know what? I did have that same experience, or whatever the case is, right? So, you know, obviously you go back into the fearmonger. You know, we always hear this Chris Rock quote, you know, only a woman, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Men are only loved based off if they could provide. You know what I mean? Right. And so that got a lot of men saying, well, damn, is unconditional love something I could really obtain, or is that just a fallacy? Well, what's your thoughts on that? And I want to start here with Nicole.
I mean, I think it's healthy that love comes with conditions. Like, I have boundaries. I have the condition that you don't abuse me, right? I have the condition that you respect me. And I think that's really healthy. And I can love Black people unconditionally, but not, you know, have a relationship with all Black people or have a friendship with all Black people. But I can still have an unconditional love in my heart for us. And so I think personally it's healthy. And I think that women are not loved unconditionally. I think that there's a condition with the women in your life that they respect you. There's a condition with the women in your life that if you are getting married, that you do bear this child, right? And so there's conditions and expectations placed upon all of us. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong or you guys have a different opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. All love is conditioned, even for dogs. Right? So like as a new mom, if I had a dog that did a little snip, snip, snip at my baby, that dog is out the door. So this whole idea of, only women, babies, or children and dogs is absolutely not true. I think all love is conditioned. It should be conditioned. And if that were the case, then no woman would ever get left. Right? They would never be divorced. Right. They would never, which is initiated by the husband in that particular case, they would never be broken up with. If that was the case, that women are the only ones who are unconditionally loved, then we would never have it where men would leave their woman. Men leave women all the time. All the time. Men put women in positions.
But you don't know if he loved that woman unconditionally, though.
That's the point.
Right, that's the point. So the line is that only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally.
No, but what I'm saying is, a man can leave a woman, but you don't know if he loved her unconditionally. That's what I'm saying. Like,
he might have never loved her.
Like, he might have never loved her. He that's why he left her. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying if he did love her unconditionally, she could do whatever she wants. A dog, if you love a dog unconditionally, he could eat your sneakers, rip up the couch, all this, and you taking it. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you: have you met a man that loved a woman unconditionally?
Have I met a man that?
Okay. Outside of my mother, like I haven't met. I've loved women unconditionally, yeah, but obviously I'm not with them no more. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But why? So why aren't the two of you together? You and one woman that you loved unconditionally. Why the two of you aren't together?
The one that I loved unconditionally. Yeah, she definitely said that. The one woman a couple of women that I loved unconditionally, they didn't want a relationship. They wanted to focus on their career. And
okay, so they were the ones who ended it each and every time.
Yeah. For sure.
So let me ask you this: because you love somebody unconditionally, do you have to be with them?
Well, why would you leave? What would cause you to leave?
You can love somebody, but come to the self-realization that you can't be with them.
So that's a
condition.
That would still support what Chris Rock is stating. So even if whatever Chris Rock is saying that is occurring where women and children and dogs are being taken care of, but men are not being cared for in that same way. Maybe for that particular man who was not being cared for it any longer, he was still loved, but something was getting in the way of him being able to experience the love that he wanted because it was causing unfair harm, right? So in the case, like Chris Rock admitted that he was cheating on his wife, right? And so their relationship dissolved. Now, unconditionally speaking, he should be able to slang his dangling anywhere and his wife still stay.
Right.
But that is causing a lot of harm, trauma. So she decides to dissolve the marriage. Right. And so he might feel like, well, I'm not loved unconditionally because there shouldn't be any conditions to the love that you have for me. Right. So then either way that you slice it on one or the other, it still supports the fact that either someone is going to leave or someone is not going to be doing the loving. Right? So, is that unconditional love? Did he unconditionally love his wife when he continued to cheat on her?
I mean, why not?
I'm saying because love, I don't like the unconditional conversation. I like aligned love conversations because like there's even a scripture where it talks about love, and it says that, you know, even if I were to give charity, even if I was to do all these things but have not love, then it's not that. So I like to bring into current day and time. If I cooked for you but I didn't cook with love, it's like I didn't cook at all. Right? If I massaged your body, right? Say I'm in a relationship with somebody, if I massage his body and I'm just doing it begrudgingly, it's like I didn't do it at all, right? It's like, what's that? Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we like for Allison and I, we have a workshop that we run called Love Wins, and people they hyperventilate when you say that love wins and you say that love is a good thing, and then they start to feel like you're saying something that love is like the be all end all, like, you know, that you like as if we're saying all you need is love. No, love is a conduit, and it's something to be aligned to something. It's not something that operates all on its own. So one of the analogies that I give is like a door, right? You guys ever seen those doors that has the track and the wheel at the top? I look at
Farm door, yeah.
right, like a farm door. I kind of look at love in that kind of way. So if I have, you know, love and I have it attached to something and it's aligned, then I can move that door back and forth easily. But if it's off track a bit, you can't really make that door move. And I use the same analogy when I talk about emotions versus logic, because when men look at themselves and they perceive a woman in her emotion, they feel that her emotion is irrelevant, or it's not positive, or it's ridiculous. And it's like, no, it's to be aligned. That's why God designed us the way that he has, because with your logic, right, your linear thinking coupled with my circular thinking, we can make things run. But if I'm always in my emotions and I'm thinking circular, I can't move forward. And if you're moving forward, you can't think well-rounded. You can't consider the women and children and you know, all the other people that are going to be affected, because you're on go. Like, you got one speed and it's go. And you need a woman that's going to be there to be like, no, but consider this, but consider this, but consider this. Herein lies the nagging. It has its point. But whether we're talking about aligning with love with something or emotions and logic, in this case, when it comes to love, unconditional love would not attach itself to infidelity. Unconditional love would not attach itself to being out of integrity. That's not loving.
That's fair. I think sometimes when we look at this conversation about unconditional love, again, it goes back down to the finances, because when we have these conversations, the main emphasis on men is finances, right? So what men are saying is, well, if I lose my job, my woman might not have the same level of respect for me. She might leave me to go with somebody who might have more money. We have women on the show say, if you lose your job, I'm just go get somebody with a different bag. Like, you know what I'm saying? So men are, I'm not saying that with all women, obviously, but some men are seeing that type of content, obviously now with social media, and they're like, damn, you know, there's another layer of pressure on me now to perform. And if I don't perform, then my woman is not going to treat me the same, and therefore go out her way maybe to look for somebody to replace me in that aspect.
Have you ever studied the Great Depression?
No, I've just never studied it, but yeah.
I love men, I promise y'all. But here's the thing: when men feel pressure, they do something that there's a term that I've heard. They say that men, their feet do the voting. When the Great Depression happened and it was hard to find jobs and it was hard to run a household, it wasn't women that left. It was men, which is why when the civil rights era started happening, we started talking about women and children and creating safety nets for women and children, and saying that the man couldn't be in the home. That's where it stemmed from. So I know we don't like to talk about the Great Depression part. We just like to blame women by saying that, well, you kept the men out of the home so that you guys could get TANF, so that you guys can get support and Section 8 and all these things. But it was designed because the government couldn't bank on men to stay in their place. Men have left. Unfortunately, there's a biological response that men experience when they're under pressure that causes them to leave, whether it's physically or mentally check out. It actually happens, which is why men need support, right? So that when you guys are feeling that kind of pressure, you know what to do so you can like bear the weight of life. But a lot of the things that are happening that women are seeing, right, is that women are basically saying, I'm gonna leave you before you leave me. They don't even know it. This is if you believe in the premise of DNA, like generational trauma, like and trauma living in the DNA, and even if you haven't like been through it and experienced it yourself, you're still going to respond in that way. This is a reactionary. This is not original design. This is women in response to the fear of being left. And truth be told, if a man loses his job and loses everything, 100% he's left. Emotionally and mentally, he's gone. He's not present. he's not feeling good in his mind, his heart, his body, his spirit.
When was the Great Depression?
That was in the 1920s.
Okay, I have to do more research about that. Because you said when men lost their jobs, they left the household?
Oh yeah, it was big.
And went where?
It was big. No, we don't know. It was a phenomenon. It was a phenomenon. And also, like, there were some things that happened with the stocks. It was during the Dust Bowl, like the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl and all these things. They had to put these safety nets in place because women and children, of course, cannot work. But what were women going to do? And so what happened is that some women, I might want to cut this part out, but just to give you the history, what happened is that some of the men that did stay and they couldn't find jobs, women started to go into the workforce even then, and the men felt so threatened in their masculinity that what skyrocketed was abuse, was domestic violence.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of these systems came into play because of what was happening when men were under pressure. The response that the government took was to protect women and children because at that given point in time, I'm assuming, I would make the assumption that the government didn't understand that men needed a certain kind of like mental support because therapy wasn't popular then.
But I would also say too that
So I'm gonna look that up. So the men were losing their jobs and women were getting jobs?
Yeah,
I thought there was no jobs. That's why men were. So how are the women getting the jobs? Like,
they started to do domestic things. We're talking about over time. We're not talking about immediately, right? So I'm condensing a very long piece of history in like a 5-minute bit. But they started to do domestic things, trading, doing things, cooking, anything in the home with other people who may have had money. But there were men who were jumping out of windows, committing suicide, physically exiting a relationship, whether like unaliving themselves or they were, they just physically left. Like we do not know where they went. We do not know if they're still around or not. We do not, some men have actually left, and when things started to turn over, they went somewhere else. They actually started a relationship.
new
with a
family
whole-
elsewhere.
having a
Yes,
whole
carpetbaggers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
new family.
What's it
This is
A carpet bag.
I think the conversation is like the core of the conversation is men don't feel valuable unless they can provide. And
Correct,
so when
yes.
you don't feel valuable within yourself, it affects the way that you're insecure, right? And then that even shows up. So when your value is attached to production, it's like if you feel bad, you're like, I don't know why this person's sitting next to me and they want me while I'm feeling like this. I'm not,
100%.
you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you can even project that onto your partner. And so I think the conversation kind of shifts from whose fault it is to like we just need emotional support when we're an investment. We're investing in
Yes.
ourselves like a stock. It's going to go up and
Yes.
down.
Yeah.
So if your value is attached to money, how are you going to address it when the stock is down?
yes.
yeah, I think that's a valid point. And again, when we go back to your affirmations, I think that is important. Like, you know what I mean? I know if I was down and I lost my job, what will make me feel supported is my woman saying, you know what? I'm still here. We're going to get through this. You know what I mean? Like those affirmations will make me, it'll build me back up because women's words are, Drew say this all the time, women's words are powerful. But if I lose my job and you're just now negative on me, like, damn,
Yeah.
how we going, you ain't paying no bills, then how am I going to support? Like, then that's like, damn, like, you know what I mean? I'm already dealing with enough. Like, I don't need this energy. Like, you get what I'm saying? So building that life into each other, black men and black women can definitely help.